Okay, so today we're going to do divine service. I'm going to be doing several different lives over the next few weeks. This particular one is divine service, and I'll also be doing a divine healing service. I'll be doing talks and other bits and pieces like that. So there's something different every time I do one of these, and it mixes it up a bit. So with divine service, the way that it works is I will do like an opening intention. I'll do some philosophy, do readings. This will be some quiet time, sorry. Do some readings, and then I'll do a closing prayer. But the idea is just to kind of take some time out to connect, to kind of think, and just to kind of be in the energy. So the idea with this is that we're just going to be in the energy. So I'm just going to set a really simple intention to open this space, which is that we can feel the energy of the universe, we can feel spirit moving between us, connects us all together in love and harmony, and that we're able to take this forward, not just for today, but for the coming weeks ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully kind of feel that energy starting to flow. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was some philosophy, and I did do a lot of church services. I still do church services from time to time, and I've always been a big believer in not preparing too far ahead, because something always comes up. So this particular story came up with my counsellor a few days ago, and I just felt it was perfect for today. We're talking a lot about my childhood. I had a very strict sort of Catholic upbringing. We were talking about that, and talking about some of the impact of some of the ideals, and those ideals being things like salvation and being saved, and punishment. Those are the things we were talking through. And although they're not conscious beliefs that I have, they're ones that are somewhere in the back of my mind. Every so often I think, oh, that's interesting. That's clearly still a thing for me that's still there. So what he was saying to me was a lot of different things, and obviously we were looking at our relationship with God, and we are a Christian country, you know, so that relationship with God isn't one of the other deities that are out there. It's the one God of the Christian church. And he was saying to me, and I found this really interesting. He said to me, God always forgives. That's one of the big things that comes up. God always forgives. So if God always forgives, that means he entirely accepts you for who you are. And he always has entirely accepted you for who you are. And that hadn't quite occurred to me in my brain. It almost felt like the upbringing I had was that I was always in the wrong, and I was always constantly having to seek approval. And he said, no, you always had approval. God forgives. Jesus forgives. You know, whichever belief system it is, you're forgiven your sins, which means actually you're completely and utterly accepted for who you are. You're accepted for being you. You're accepted for how you go through life. And it had never occurred to me that way. It had never occurred to me that actually the acceptance was always there. And it kind of, when I then go back and feel into the rest of my childhood and go, actually, you know, little 6-year-old Rachel, teenage Rachel, you're not in the wrong all the time. You're not always having to seek to be forgiven. You're always accepted for exactly who you are. It puts a different kind of slant on things. And then he also told me this story, and I don't know how true the story is, but I think it's a wonderful story. And the story is about a slave in America during the Civil War. And of course, there was, at that point, part of the Civil War was about whether or not slaves should be freed. So there was this slave, and he, during this period, decided not to work. He was really big, he was really strong, but he completely and utterly decided not to work. And it didn't matter how badly he was punished by his slave master. He was always going to, he did nothing. So this slave would refuse to move, he would refuse to work, he would refuse to do anything. And it got to a point where this slave master thought, what are my options? What are my options with him? He's not going to do anything. It doesn't matter how I punish him. He's not going to do anything. What are my options? To kill him? Or actually, there's some value in him. He's big, he's strong. Nobody's going to know. I'll put him into auction. So the slave master puts his slave into the auction. And as he's being viewed by other potential buyers, and they come and check his teeth and his hair and his stature and his muscles, he says to every single one, you can buy me, but I will not work. Every single one that comes, he said, you can buy me, but I refuse to work. That's why he's selling me. So it comes to the bidding, it comes to the auction. And this man bids on him, desperate to win him, bids on him and takes him. And the slave says to him, you should know you've wasted your money. You've made a mistake. You've wasted your money because I will not work. And the new slave master said, you don't know. You don't know what my intentions for you are. So if you don't know what my intentions are, you can't tell me if I've wasted my money. So they obviously get in the car, they go back. And when they go back to this guy's mansion, he gives him his freedom papers. It turns out that this new guy had bought him was one of a group of people who were going around and buying slaves specifically to free them and to give them their freedom. And he wrote these papers out and he gave them to him. And the story goes that the slave fell to his knees and said, how can I ever repay you? How can I ever repay you? And he said, I don't want repaying. This is you're serving your purpose. My purpose was to free you. We've done that. Like, you don't owe me anything. You've never, I've never put a roof over your head. I've never given you anything. You've served the purpose that I've bought you for. You're free. You can go. You can do what you want. Build your life. Go out. And what the slave said is, you, I will work for you to the day that I die. You and your family are people that I will look after, I will love, and I will respect until the day that I die. And that man then chose to work for his new employer now, and he worked for him diligently and fervently for the rest of his life. And what the conversation was, my counselor said to me, actually, what that shows us is that salvation, freedom, the idea of salvation, the idea of freedom, isn't the idea of obtaining that, isn't what makes you do good things, isn't what makes you work. That doesn't produce the best of you. What actually produces the best of you is knowing that you are already free, knowing that you're already saved, knowing that salvation has already been bestowed upon you. And the conversation that we had was, so knowing, this childlike version of me, knowing that you've already been saved, knowing that salvation has already been bestowed on you from a small age, every single act that you've done has not been to free yourself, has not been to get yourself into heaven, has not been to do any of those things. Actually, all of those acts are directly as a result of the freedom and the salvation that you've already been given. Funnily enough, the counselor that I've got, the universe works in funny ways. Years ago, he was a chaplain. So his knowledge of kind of some of the religious stuff that I've got in my background, he's got very modern idea of we're talking about different things, and he knows where I'm coming from. We're talking about healing and all of that stuff, and I'll say to him, well, that's a thing for me to heal through this week. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely heal through that this week. So having that idea, which is that actually constantly seeking, constantly reaching out, constantly trying. You know that feeling? I don't know if you guys ever feel it. You sometimes feel it in your heart and your throat. You think, I'm not ever good enough. I'm not ever going to get there. You're already there. But if you work from a place of already being there, it produces the best version of you, the most diligent version of you, the most beautiful and most wondrous. And I really loved that. And I actually said to him, I think you may have changed the vibration of a lot of my childhood, because a lot of my childhood was this idea that I need to be good, otherwise I'm not going to get into heaven. You know, those ideas. So I just wanted to share that story with you, because I really felt like, I just really felt like that was the story itself, I think, is a beautiful story, but the whole philosophy behind it of actually we're our best selves when we're not being punished. We're our best selves when we're free. It really, really hit home, and I thought, let's approach life from that, which is I'm free. And because I am free, because I am saved, because I am appreciated, because I am loved and accepted for exactly who I am, let that be the basis of how I move through life. Not this constant seeking of approval, which is what we do, right? We seek approval from parents.
That's it. Yeah. And when you're at work, you always feel that you're not always good enough. I've always felt like that. And then I realise now it's just not, just be yourself and just and not have to prove yourself all the time.
Yes.
And if they don't like it, it's too bad, isn't it? But I was a bit like in your wavelength for a long time until recently. Yeah.
It's true, because you swap your parents for your teachers, or your parents and your teachers for work. It literally, and if you've got that sort of other Christian, quite strict Christian rhetoric, it's running in the background. It makes it really, really difficult. And I just thought, that's it. That's what I loved that story. And I'm really glad it resonates, because I loved it, absolutely loved it. And I was like, yes, that's it. That's the message I'm taking forward, is that I'm already saved, and that it's that I've always been accepted for who I am, and that is the basis of which to live, not constantly seeking that outside approval. And you're right, unfortunately we do go through life and we fall back into those relationships, and the problem is that society is kind of used to working on that basis, right? Which is you need and actually this is the whole point of kind of like the current period we're going through in so many different ways, is to change from that vibration of constantly seeking approval to knowing that you're loved and accepted, and that produces two completely different outcomes, right?
Definitely. Oh yeah.
So that's that was a really lovely story. And we are going through a big shift, and it sometimes feels a bit difficult when we're going through these big shifts, because this is the point at which the old stuff hangs on the hardest. If you're about to fall, you dig your claws in harder, right? So that's something to always bear in mind, is everything's as weird, and it look at some of the stuff that's going on in America. A lot of it is as weird as it is because the old ideology, that old energy doesn't want to give up the ghost, doesn't want to let go. But I think we're producing generations of kids that won't put up with it anymore. So they'll get there like, oh, why do I want to do that? Putting up with that nonsense.
Oh, I know. My son only 7. He doesn't want to go to school. He just doesn't like it. He's only.
Dylan does the same thing. Why do I have to do that? He had a conversation with the teacher, and the teacher said he'd lost his blazer, and there's a big they couldn't find a blazer. They were going to replace the blazer for me, and in the end I said, don't replace it, he's getting into trouble all the time, don't replace it, I'll just buy one. Anyway, as this was kind of happening, because the new replacement blazer wasn't coming, one of his teachers said to him, Dylan, take your coat off in class. And Dylan said, no, I'm cold. Now, if Dylan's cold, he actually must be cold because he generally gets too hot. And she said, no, take your coat off. You're not supposed to wear your coat in class. He said, yes, I know, but my blazer's missing still. And I'm cold. And she said, no, take your coat off. It's warm in here. And he said to her, what's more important, my well-being or you following the rules? And she lost her SHIT with him. And he got parks and all of this stuff. I mean, I had to get involved to sort it out, as to do with a lot of stuff. But he was being perfectly autistically logical, which is, what's more important? Me being, what difference does it make? I'm cold. Just let me wear my jacket. Why? You know, he doesn't, in a lot of people's head, that hierarchy is there. That hierarchy isn't there for him. He absolutely is valid in his opinion. And actually he was right. You know, if he's cold, just let him wear the bloody jacket.
I know, just so crazy. I said my son lost his, well, 2 jumpers, and as he's only got his last year, because before he goes juniors, I thought, I'm not buying one. And he's been wearing a cardigan, but they've been all right about it. But one teacher was like, oh no, you have to have a school jumper. But I thought, no, I'm not, because soon it'll be summer and he won't be wearing it. So
and I've just spent out,
if he wears a cardigan, what does it matter? It's just so silly, isn't it? But
it is really silly. It's that rules for rules' sake. So we have got, and even I think about my Gen Z sister who's in her late 20s now. She would just jack jobs in. I'm not putting up with people treating me like that. Who do literally just drop a job. And she's right, something else always comes along. She'll get another job. They have got a different outlook, and I don't blame them for not wanting to put up with as much rubbish as I know I did for my measly, I think £2.50 an hour that I used to get to be a supervisor in a shop.
Oh, yeah.
It's mad. That was poor pay back then, I think. Right. So what I'm just going to do is just do some quiet time. Okay. I'm just going to kind of go through a really simple visualization just to get our energy into a good place. And the idea that I want to kind of instill behind this is, you know, in the Catholic Church, they call it the Holy Spirit. In other churches, they'll call it spirit. In, you know, the Vedics sort of called it prana, the breath. It's the chi in sort of the Chinese medicine circles, and it's the ray in the Reiki, which is the energy, which is the life force. If you're a Jedi, the force, which kind of moves between all of us. And I'm just going to kind of tune us into that, because that does come in on the love vibration, and just for us to spend a few moments sitting in that and connecting in that, and kind of replenishing ourselves. So if you just make yourself aware of your body where you can. And if there's anything that you think, oh, actually, I need to straighten that or relax that slightly. Normally for me, it's the shoulders. Then we can do. And I just want you to make yourself aware of your center of your energy, which is kind of your core energy, the original part of your energy. And it feels a little bit different, a little bit more solid than the rest of your energy. And we're just going to bring that down slightly lower than where it is. And the reason that we're doing that is to feel its weight, is to feel its gravity, is for it to bring our center, our energetic center of gravity down lower. It makes us more sure-footed, makes us more balanced. It makes us stronger, and as such, more protected. I just want you to make yourself aware of your breath, the pace of your breath. And just noting that as you take those deeper belly breaths, the difference it makes to your energy and the difference it makes to yourself. And as you breathe inwards and outwards, just the understanding of the inward and outward motion of our energy alongside that inward and outward movement of our breath, and how our breath and our energy moves inside us, and how our breath and our energy moves outside of us. And you may become aware of colours around you. You may just be aware of that calmer feeling or of that knowledge of connection. Our energy moves around us, inside and out. We can feel our little auric bubble around us. But our energy flows even through that, through our body, through our personal space, and out into the world. And that life force, that breath force, connects us to the planet, through the trees and the plants. Our breath feeds each other, knowing we've got that relationship with the planet through the trees and the plants. And it connects us to other people. And what we're focusing on here is connecting us into joy and love. Pinks and greens and golds. Bright yellows. Little sparks of joy and sparks of sunshine, which will attract and bring forward the right people into our space. And just feeling the breath flow inwards and outwards with that love and joy. We're just going to sit in that energy, in that movement. Just for a few moments. And just allowing the energy to flow out to any of our loved ones, whether they're on the planet, physically or in spirit. Just letting that love and that joy flow to them as well. And just bringing that connection back into our inside bubble, into our breath, into our heart space. And just feeling that heart space connecting with the lungs. And just centering back that love and joy. remembering that we are love and that we are loved. We are love and we are loved. We are love and we are loved. Okay, so if anyone would like a message or a reading, please let me know. You can either pop your hand up or you can pop a note onto the chat if you can get that up. And I'll move into giving messages in just a moment. Lovely. Okay. So stretch myself up and bring some consciousness. And it's too nice, isn't it, being in that energy?
Yeah,
good. Good. Okay, that's lovely. Just bring the messages up there. Okay, great. So I'm just going to tune in and because Georgina's messages popped up first, I'll tune into Georgina's energy first of all, see what I've got for her. Okay, so what I'm first thing that I'm picking up around Georgina for me to focus on is feeling questioning but frustration at the same time, which says to me there's a lot going on, which is I'm trying to muddle my way through. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing, and there's frustration, and that frustration feels like it's coming from the outside. It feels like being kind of prevented from doing what you want to when you need what you need to. Actually, it doesn't even feel like wants. It feels like this stuff is kind of essential stuff, what I need to do when I need to do it. And that's tough because it's you know, it is tough because you're trying to juggle everything, and it is difficult when you're a parent trying to kind of navigate all of that outside stuff, as well as the world isn't always the best place for our kids, right? And it's really hard trying to navigate that for our kids. Like I said, you know, we're trying to get rid of the old, bring in the new, and it does make it very difficult. So I'm just there's about 3 strings that I'm kind of grasping at and trying to pull 3 kind of threads of energy forward towards me, which also says to me there's choices. There's choices with what's kind of going on. No, 3 areas to navigate. That feels better. 3 areas to navigate. I've got 1 which feels like one area feels quite explosive and difficult to navigate, but it also feels like it's taken up a lot more space than it should, and I've got a feeling that's an individual, and it almost feels like a helium balloon that's been brought sort of blowing up. It's taken up too much space in comparison to everything else. The balloon feels like it's right here, And actually what I feel like doing is just releasing some of the air and letting it go. So this may well be somebody who is who likes kind of saying what they need to say without thought. And it means that quite often when people are like that, when they just talk or say what they think without listening back and without kind of being reasonable, you end up kind of feeling like a punching bag with that. And the biggest thing that's coming up is logic and responsibility, which is that person doesn't feel like they're your responsibility. And every time you try to make things easier for them, it's not going to be easier. It's going to get misread. It's going to get used the wrong way. It's going to get misinterpreted. So what I want to say is, even when you're doing things the right way, it's never going to get seen as being the right way. So you might as well do things actually the right way for you, which is this is what you need to do. These are your responsibilities, and I'm not having any more conversations past that, because the attention and that energy doing this is what keeps on feeding them. And that doesn't mean that that's not going to be in your face a while it gets used to actually needing to be pushed away. But what I want to say is, every time you get, and I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'll get frustrated, I'll start to get annoyed at the kids, and I think, no, what actually am I annoyed at? The kids had just so happened to have made noise, or I was in the middle of doing something. Who was I replying to? Who was I messaging? Or who was I thinking about planning out in my head? That's actually who's annoying me. If I didn't have all of their noise in my head, the kids wouldn't be an issue. That the normal noise the kids are making wouldn't be an issue. And it's meant that I've not dealt with it as well, because I'm having to manage and deal with that person. So we all do it, right? We all do it at different times. So actually, every time that pops into my head, what I say to myself is, it's not my responsibility. And I'll just keep on saying, it's not my responsibility, over and over and over again in my head. And eventually what you're doing is you're setting that intention around energetic boundaries, around emotional drains, around all of those emotional boundaries, and you're energetically pushing it away and energetically strengthening yourself. And it's very difficult. I'm one of those people that wakes up at night and does that type of thing. And I have to then remind myself, it's not my responsibility. The other thing I regularly remind myself of is, I kick ass. I kick ass, I'm capable. It doesn't matter what walks in my pathway, I can deal with. I've shown myself that I'm capable and I can deal with this, and I'm capable and I can deal with this going forward. So a lot of this feels like almost reclaiming your own head, your own headspace, and understanding, and we know this, that the energetic reach goes beyond our own thoughts. Those thoughts go out into the universe, and it realigns what it needs to within the universe. What I can see now that I've kind of pushed that energy out of the way is that there's another option coming in for you, Georgina, and it feels like it's coming in like this. And that says to me, it's coming in from a different angle. You're not going to expect it. It's not in your field of vision, but it's help. And it feels like something formal. It feels like an outside body. It feels like an organization. It feels like that, but it is going to come in. So my feeling is something's going to be recommended to you. Somebody's going to say, have you tried this? That's going to be the thing that comes in and gives you the extra bit of support that you need, and actually pushes that away even further. So whatever this support is going, that energy, that big sort of balloon, like I said, this over puffed helium balloon, is going to push that back even further, because you're going to have this coming in at another angle. There is something else as well. Okay. What's the third thing that I need to be aware of? The third thing is that peace and that quiet. And I'll tell you what I can see. I can see swans, and I can see lots of white birds, and I can see water, and that connection to nature, and that connection to that peacefulness that nature brings, being really, really important. And I think it's really easy at this time of year when it's freaking freezing and you're scraping the ice off the car to forget that connection, or not to not make that conscious effort to go out into it because it is freezing. So finding some way of connecting into that outside energy, which might be, you know, a quick, I always go to, I'm in Eastleigh, so I quite often go to Lakeside, and we'll do a really quick walk, and we'll run back into the cafe and get a cake and a hot chocolate, because, you know, that's the reward for going out and kind of having that little run around. So that nature connection and that peacefulness, that peace isn't something that I want you to think about as being a tag on. That peace is central to bringing you, Georgina, back into the place that you need to be. That's it. That's everything. Because you dropped the connection, so I know that that's everything that I need to give you. So hopefully, Georgina, you can take that. Hopefully that helps as well. Lisa, did you want a message as well?
Okay then, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay, good. You're both here, you both might as well get messages. Okay, so Lisa. Okay, that's interesting. The light energy and the spring energy actually is kind of feeding you at the moment, and it's really working on that confidence building that is the current part of your journey at the moment. And when what I want you to do is, when you're thinking about connecting into that energy, think about the sunlight, think about all of that beautiful energy that comes off the sun, because that's really feeding you. The solar plexus is where our confidence lies, right? So and it's also a mini sun, so the sunshine is literally feeding that confidence and feeding that joy. So just spending a few minutes connecting into the sunshine, and again, I think for you, those moments where, oh, you're worrying, blah, blah, actually that sunshine energy is the energy you need. So it might be you go to the window and feel that connection to the sun. It might be that you close your eyes and you go, okay, yeah, I've got this. I don't know if there's somebody, it's obviously difficult if I'm giving out messages like this, because I'm not going to go into great detail, but I can feel that there's energy around you where somebody, I know obviously we've all got our kids with all of their fun stuff, but I feel that there's somebody else, another adult, who has a lot of you support them. It might be practical, it might be emotional, but I can feel your support and your thoughts going towards them. I just want to say, don't worry about that. That feels like the biggest thing, that there's somebody around you that you might be worrying about. Don't worry about them. Everything's fine. You're doing exactly what you need to. And also, big message from Spirit, which is you are seen and you are appreciated. And I don't think that gets said to you enough, is how appreciated and loved you are in the real world. And Spirit say, we see everything you do, we recognize that, and we want to also acknowledge that. So everything that you do is seen. All of your achievements, all of your confidence building and your moving forward, all of that is seen. And a huge sense of pride coming in from Spirit, coming in from the other side to kind of boost your energy. So those moments when, you know, we do have our wobbles, feeling into that sunshine energy and knowing that that pride and that love is coming from the other side, that you are seen and that you are recognized for all of those achievements. And I think when we're raised, we're given those ideals, aren't we? Which is, unless you're changing the planet, like you haven't made a big enough impact, right? Which is, we're all supposed to be up on some great big, I don't know, platform changing the world. And then it makes all of our achievements look really small in comparison. Actually, the people that change the world the most are us. We look after each other, we do things for each other. We have a conversation with a teacher at school. It doesn't just help our children, it helps other children as well. We have a conversation with a neighbour, you know, and it won't just help that neighbour, it will help your whole community. You know, all of the little things that we do are seen, are appreciated, because actually it's our actions directly in our community that literally change the world that we live in. So I want you to know that all of that is seen, that even those preconceptions we have, or, well, I've not done much. No, you have. It's all seen, it's all appreciated, it's all loved, because, you know, it's people like you that really do help change the world around us and really are helping change the planet. And don't, the feeling is, don't underestimate the impact that you're having. Don't ever underestimate that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that's lovely reading. Yeah, thank you.
Good. Oh, Georgina, I'm glad you can take that. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay, so what I'll do then is I will I'll finish up here. We've come to the end, and I'm just going to take a moment just to kind of sit in that energy again, because I want us to take that with us, that love, that joy energy, those pinks, those greens, those golds. If you visualize that, we're going to take that with us in our hearts, and that is going to help us feel more confident in ourselves, help us with our joyous connection and attracting in that joy from other people and those joyous connections from the community around us. Then we take that love and any other messages that we've taken from today. The universe works in wonderful ways. So we'll always have a message from the philosophy. There'll always be a part of somebody else's message, and you think, yeah, that bit was for me too. Might have been for them, but also, yeah, thank you. That's for me too. Just feeling that love and feeling that joy vibration within our hearts, within our tummies. Take a big breath in, knowing that we will go holding that energy and bringing that energy with us no matter where we go. Lovely. Have a nice stretch, and I'll send out a message for next month, a little bit closer to the time, with what we're gonna do on that one then. All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye, Lisa. Bye, Georgina. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.